Teaching is the most respectable profession in the world, but the governments are using teachers as a tool. Nowadays, the opening itself, this essay establishes that teaching, the transfer of teaching from what it was as a noble profession to something as a tool in the hands of the government. Bertrand Russell, in his essay Functions of a Teacher, spreads light on this issue. According to him, teaching is not different from slavery nowadays. Teachers nowadays do not talk about revolutionary ideas, nor do they help students to increase their creativity. In other words, they have no passion of teaching. Teaching is just a boring job for them since they have no free will. We know that as teachers, many of us go through this same situation. We know that we are just, go to the class, we just teach whatever that is mentioned in the syllabus, and that's all what we do. We just do all the examinations and then we come out. But when we think about being a teacher, we know that it is something more than just delivery of some content, isn't it? There is something more meaningful to that particular term. The connect the literal meaning of this particular term teacher is somewhat different from that of just a deliverer of some kind of specific chapters or materials from that are included in a particular syllabus. So the same thing is discussing in this essay. Now we will see the other related, the summary of the essay. History is evident that teachers like Socrates were put to death. Similarly, Plato was thrown into prison. Regardless of that, they did not stop their doctrines. What they did was that they never stoop, or they never was ready to obey the government or the authorities. Because of that reason, they were punished for their stance. In modern world, situation is entirely opposite. In whole essay, Bertrand Russell wants to prove that functions of a teacher in modern world are very less. If they have any, they are beneficial for the state only. Every teacher is a puppet in the hands of government and system. He fears that teachers have no freedom at all. They can teach as per their own desires, but as per desires of their respective governments. Now he goes on. Bertrand Russell is of the view that in modern world government has reduced functions of a teacher. A teacher can't teach what he thinks best for his pupil. Rather, his duty is to instill such beliefs and prejudices which his employers thought useful. In this way, teachers have lost their freedom of teaching. He, he accepts that he accepts that education is necessary for everyone and it should be given by the state, but boundaries should not be assigned to teachers. He further argues that in vast majority teachers have become civil servants. Teachers' only attitude towards education is of a propagandist. Education in every country is different because it is based on propaganda. As we know that propaganda is a kind of doctrination, yeah, that the doctrines, the ideas that we think that are right, we just propagate it through this this education system. We know that in our system, in our education system itself, we have this prescribed syllabus. So in that, all these things, values or ideas that we want to convey is indoctrinated through the teaching methods and in the classrooms. So basically we are just acting like civil servants. We just obey the government, the syllabus, the boards. That's what happens. That is a truth. So according to Bertrand Russell, he says that that's not fair, that's not the real role of a teacher here nowadays, but the role is of that of a propagandist who just support the government. Bertrand Russell gives some suggestions in Functions of a Teacher, through which profession of teaching can be reverted from slavery to creativity and revolution. How can we change this situation scenario? That is the thing. That is something he is going to discuss in this essay. His intention is to save a teacher becoming a tool in the hands of the government. Biased attitude of a teacher ruins a nation. Teachers should differentiate between right and wrong. If he prefers his own nation, religion, and culture, without making difference between right and wrong, then he is not a teacher but a propagandist. The writer, the author says that, if we are just propagating, or if we are just delivering what is prescribed to us, then what we are doing, we are not teachers, we are not teaching anyone, we are just propagandists. He should teach his pupils what is right and not what is beneficial for a state. So what is right for the humanity, that is something we should teach in the classrooms, which we should teach our students, not something that is going to benefit the state or the government. Humanity is above all things, but it's not things, it's things. Bertrand Russell, and one of the major functions, according to, humanity is above all, things, Bertrand Russell, and one of the major functions of a teacher is to teach humanity to his pupils. His, Bertrand Russell thinks that humanity is above everything, everything. It is the most important thing, and it is the role of the teacher to teach humanity to his pupil, not just propagating some ideas that are already prescribed by the government. He should not twist reality as per desire of his government. Welfare of mankind should be the first priority. If a teacher is preferring his own nation and country to other nations and countries of the world, then it means that he is teaching envy, pride, and cruelty to his pupils. Basically, we know that when we teach these kind of things, that is, India is the best thing, India is the only thing that we have to love, and the country, the nationalism, extreme fanatic nationalism can be a harmful thing. A moderate nationalism is all right, but extreme nationalism is going to harm, because there will be a tendency to hate others. We may lose the ability to tolerate other people on the earth. Okay. So while defining functions of a teacher, he says that a true teacher turns cruelty into kindness. In this way, Bertrand Russell differentiates a teacher from a propagandist in functions of a teacher. Functions of a teacher. Bertrand Russell is right when he says that functions of a teacher are to educate and teach equality, that is, to tolerate others. Doing so, a teacher serves mankind and promotes education. Russell's philosophy is very much universal and acceptable. Moreover, it is practically applicable. In his whole life, he promoted love and peace. In functions of a teacher, Bertrand Russell's aim is not different. He wants peace for every country, each nation, and all religions. A teacher must have freedom, says Russell. He should not teach what his employers want, but what is suitable for his pupils. We see Bertrand Russell depicting the truth in his essay, Functions of a Teacher. His opinions have worth. Factually, most of the institutions compel every teacher to teach his students states prescribed education, that is the prescribed syllabus. What we are doing now is the same thing. Those things that he blame, or those things he say as a negative, the negative traits of teacher, that is something that we are doing, we are practicing the same thing. Okay, he can't teach beyond it. In a very short time, a teacher has to prepare his students for examinations. We know that, we are well aware of this situation, that we prepare syllabus, we just convey the topics that are prescribed in the syllabus, and then we prepare them for the examinations. Beyond that, how much, to what extent we are influencing our students, to what extent we are directing our students, the same thing is described here, discussed by Bertrand Russell. The teachers have no authority to decide what shall be taught or what the methods of instruction are to be. He says, Russell uses, now the thing is that he says that there is no freedom for the teacher to decide what he or she should teach, what is appropriate for the, he cannot decide what is appropriate for his or her students. He doesn't have the freedom to move forward, and even the methods of teaching cannot be decided by the teacher. That is a limitation of a teacher in such a society. Russell uses the word self-determination to clear that the teacher determines what is necessary for the pupils, but alas, the immense majority of education institutions are hampered and controlled by men who do not understand the work with which they are interfering. So he says that the authority or the head of or the decision making bodies or people of these kind of organizations, they never knew or they never know anything about this process of education. That is the reason why they prescribe all this syllabus, all this content to convey or to teach in the classrooms. Russell defends a teacher from becoming slave or a tool in the hands of government. He writes, the only way to prevent totalitarianism in our highly organized world is to secure a certain degree of independence for bodies performing useful public work. And among such bodies, teachers deserve a foremost place. He says that in order to prevent totalitarianism, in order to save our society from stooping to totalitarianism, it is very important that we should stay away, or the government should deliberately try to stay away from these kind of organizations that do useful public work, and one of them is teachers. That is, education system should be, there should be minimum interference from the side of or from the part of a government. But we know that that's not possible. Some of the governments consider it as a tool to propagate their doctrines. We know that. Furthermore, Bertrand Russell, in Functions of a Teacher, redefines the meaning of education. Education does not mean preparing students for examinations. It means to differentiate right from the wrong while ignoring the concept of superiority of nations. So, what is the real meaning of education? It is to identify what is right from wrong and consider all people as equal. That is the aim of education. And one more thing which is in the mind of Russell is the overworking of teacher. He says that most teachers are overworked and are compelled to prepare their pupils for examinations rather than to give them a liberalizing mental training. The result is that many of them become harassed and nervous, out of touch with recent work in the subjects that they teach, and unable to inspire their students with a sense of the intellectual delights to be obtained from new understanding and new knowledge. As we know that when we teach a syllabus, for example, a teacher who works in the UP section or high school section or in a specific section like higher secondary, we know that we just after working 1 or 2 years we can identify or we can sense that there is a lack of exposure to new knowledge, because the only thing we do is to used to do is to just teach what is prescribed in the text. We are very much confined, we are very busy teaching these kind of very tight scheduled syllabus. So there is no scope for any professional development or any broadening of thought or anything, that kind of things. So he basically points out that that is the thing. Now, Russell adds another suggestion: a teacher should teach his pupils tolerance. Lots of custom differences are there between nations, as we know that in the last essay and day before yesterday, we were talking about the tolerance. So the same thing, the same topic pops up here. Tolerance becomes furious. That is, a person who has no tolerance becomes furious on tiny controversial issues. Custom and religious differences are two main reasons behind it. If a person has no tolerance, situation may become worse. No custom, religion, and society is inferior or superior to another, and no one should make sarcastic remarks about anyone. If one makes, the other should tolerate. Hence, tolerance is a very important trait. It is one of the most important functions of teacher to teach tolerance to his students, says Bertrand Russell. Students of every country are taught their religion, customs, nations, and countries, that is, are better than the others. So that is the way how it is, they do that. And we know that our language is better, our religion is better, our customs is better. But the reality is that we should be able to develop the sense of tolerance, the quality of tolerance in our students. Now, suffice to say that Russell's philosophy says a teacher becoming a tool in the hands of government. He says the function of a teacher, however, is not merely to mitigate the heat of current controversies. He has more positive tasks to perform, and he cannot be a great teacher unless he is inspired by a wish to perform these tasks. Teachers are more than any other class the guardians of civilization. That is very important. Okay, the guardians of civilization. That is how the role of teachers are described by Bertrand Russell describes it or calls teachers as the guardians of civilization. They should be intimately aware of what civilization is and desirous of imparting a civilized attitude to their pupils. That is, Russell concludes saying every system should allow loopholes and exceptions, for if it does not, it will in the end crush all that is best in man. The thing is that if we are too strict about each and everything in our life, especially when it comes to the governmental interference in the field of education, in the role of teacher, then it is going to hamper, or it is going to create a negative impact in the educational field. So it is going to block the development of humanity. So that is the point. That is the conclusion of this particular essay. Okay, now we will go to the next part.